Hey everybody, welcome back to the Knowledge Broker podcast. I'm Joshua Campbell, and joining me as always is Trish Riswick.
Hello.
We took a break last week for the first time ever.
Yep.
But we are on episode number what?
We're on episode number 10.
Yay!
We've hit our first milestone.
We did.
Oh,
Thank you very much to everybody that's been joining us thus far. Hope you're all enjoying it. And on to the next 10.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's to the next 10.
Yes,
right
there.
Boom.
So, how was your weekend?
My weekend was really good. I went up to the cottage this weekend. Lots of lovely changing the season is very nice.
Yeah.
The colors are beautiful, so I can't really complain right now.
Yeah, it's a favorite time of year.
It
I
is.
feel like, yeah, we were discussing this before the show about how the fall and Canadians, we all associate that with, I guess, the change, the turnover. It's funny how I listened to this one comedian, Daniel Tosh, and he talks about how he makes fun of Canadians because he says that we like seasons, and he has the best season being summer because he lives in California. I personally don't get it. I find I actually really like going through the four seasons.
Yes.
I mean, spring, I could maybe go without just because it's mucky, but at the same time, I do know that something's coming around the corner, which is typically summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's probably just jealous. I mean, as much as I love summer,
Yeah.
if I had that for 12 months, I'd probably go insane. Because
I would.
as a good friend of mine says, we flourish in fall.
Oh.
And I'm like, I get it. I get it. Like in fall, the fashion is better. Like I find the food is better. The beer is better. Like the colors are better.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a sucker for fall.
Yeah. My brother and I were having a good conversation this weekend. We were talking a couple things. First one was that we noticed that we really enjoy the air in the fall and likely the spring equally as much, or maybe not as much. I give fall the upper advantage on it. We were talking about how it's likely the freshest air that comes through our lungs. So you go in the wintertime, dead winter, dry.
Yeah.
Summer could be super dry and or
Humid.
really humid. The fall really fresh and it's a cool air.
Yeah.
And second to that, you made a comment about the clothing's nicer. It's literally perfect weather to walk around in like pajama type weather or clothing.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
we get to live in comfortable clothes at the temperature that we like to breathe in fresh air. Good times.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I can walk around in a sweater and be like, I don't need a jacket just yet. But I also can like look damn good when I do it.
It's like having a blanket at
Yeah.
all times.
Oh my god, scarf weather,
Sure.
my favorite.
Yes.
Because in the summer you walk around in like, well, for girls obviously it's more like shorts and a tank top, and you feel like so much skin. There's so much skin
Sure.
exposed. I hate
There's nothing wrong with wanting to have
something.
Like, yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
like I like this.
Yeah.
This is a good amount of clothing for me. But
So
anyway,
we've done 10,
10 episodes.
and we're on to the next 10.
Yeah, we've done 10 episodes.
What have you got for us today?
Oh, well, we have a great episode today. And it's one that we did speak about during our transparency talk. So it's kind of fun to bring it back into the conversation.
Okay.
So this week we're talking about viewing failures as success. And now this is like I said, this is a topic that I really am excited to talk about because oftentimes people don't realize that viewing failure as success is such a mental thing. It's kind of like what we talked about with the environment. You know, in order to change your habits, you have to change your environment. If you want to stop eating junk food, you need to take junk food out of the house.
Right.
If you want to stop viewing failures as failures, you need to start viewing them as little successes, or at least start viewing them in different ways.
Sure.
So we're going
be thankful for them.
Exactly. So we're going to break those down today. We're going to talk about how to start looking at failures as success and a bunch of other stuff. But the first thing I really wanted to talk about and to get this conversation rolling is there a time that you failed? What was one time, preferably business related, that you failed, that you remember?
On the business side, all the time.
Okay.
In personal life, all the time. I find myself failing a lot.
Yeah.
Whether it's small failures, sometimes catastrophic failures, depends on how you think of them.
It's true.
It depends often what you learn from them. If you make the same failure over and over again, obviously you're not learning your lesson. But if you make small failures or big failures and you make adaptations, then bammo, you're growing and you're learning.
Yeah.
So on a business side of things, I would take this back to like even when I was in business school. I actually went through a period of burnout,
Okay.
and I've never experienced this once before in my life. And it was in my first term, and I was working in real estate. I was also maintaining a job at the hospital, working full time there, studying to do my MBA, and I was going down to Toronto to do my MBA 2 nights a week, 2 different courses, drive down, go for 3 hours, drive back. I'd even be able to play football in the evening if I raced out of Toronto fast enough.
Down in Newmarket?
Yeah,
Oh,
if I
wow,
came
okay.
back on time,
Yeah.
like 10 o'clock at night, go to bed at 11, wake back up at 5, repeat.
Yeah.
So that first term, I thought I could just do everything I was already doing and then just put on more. And then,
I mean, as you could.
sure, I just found minutes in the day.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I hit like mid-November, and I literally got down to school. And a good friend of mine, Brad, and he works across the street at the atrium from Ted Rogers School of Management for Ryerson.
Yeah.
And I go, I think you got to drive me home tonight. And he goes, why? What's up? And I go, I can't remember how I got down here. And he was like, okay. So I go to class, and I go to do a presentation, and the teacher, I did a full presentation, which I usually am pretty communicative.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember a damn thing. I literally couldn't talk. And I just had to start reading my slides because I prepared it well, but at the same time, like I just went black.
Yeah.
And at the end of the class, he said, "Josh, you okay?" And I was like, "No, not." And he's like, "Okay, you gotta take some time." And I'm like, "Okay." So he gave me a pass and said, "Josh, let's just take a break here." So I went through the process of coming out of school for a few weeks. Didn't finish that term. Finished it in January.
Yeah.
Took a bunch of time off. Never gone through this in my life. I looked at that as a failure at the very beginning. I mean, I was in a moment where I couldn't finish it, but I knew I was gonna. But at the same time, it was still like not necessarily didn't go to the way that I had planned. And I think if you think about failure, that's probably a true definition. Things didn't go
Definitely.
the way that you planned. And then at the end of the day, the neat thing is, I learned from that exact moment that you can't just take your regular day in the life of and throw more into it. Something's got to come out. You got to move things around. So I mean, it didn't turn into a failure. It turned into a success. It was just kind of like one of those things where maybe you're doing a marathon and you roll on a pebble or you roll on a rock and you're still going to finish the marathon, but you got to adapt.
Exactly. And it's funny because what you're talking about, especially with taking that time off, was something that we've also already talked about that you got from working with strategic coach, them saying that more time off is actually better for the work that you put in.
Sure it is.
So it's almost like you learn that lesson in the moment too.
Yeah, by force, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I know for me, my story comes out of university as well. In my final year at Ryerson,
You're Ryerson too.
I am a
Right,
Ryerson
right.
grad, yep. I was working 80 hours a week. So I had a unpaid internship for 40 hours a week, and then I was working at a restaurant for 40 hours a week, and then on top of that, I had my school. So my thesis project was a 20-minute short film, and I was the director, the writer. I was basically one of the assistant editors.
Camera person.
Everything,
Scripter,
right?
you
Oh
name
yes,
it,
I wore many hats during
Yeah.
those months of filming.
All
and
hats, if you will.
Exactly.
Did you act in it too?
No, I didn't make. I was actually kind of looking to make like a Hitchcockian entrance and just
Right.
kind of like walk in, and then
Hey.
it just never happened.
Okay.
All the rest of my crew got to do that, and I was just like, guys, I'm too panicked. Like I
get
have
it.
to
I get
figure
it.
this out, right? So we were in the middle of editing. I think we had our rough draft was due like 2 days or something, right? And I'm in the booth with my editor and my audio guy, and we get to one scene. And we realized that we forgot to record audio for it because it was raining and the way that the camera was positioned was so far away. We're like, we'll get this later,
no.
right? So it's probably about 7 o'clock at night. I have to get to work. Or so maybe it was like 6 or something. I had to get
Sure.
to work, and I knew I was going to be at work for a long time because we had a party going on. Because like when you're working in Toronto at a restaurant, you could be there until like 4
Sure.
a.m.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's going to be a long night. And literally in that moment, my heart just sank because I'm like, we have to hand this in. And if there's no audio, this is going to be terrible. So my editor got on the phone with one of our actors. I got on the phone with the other. It was like, guys, we need to get you down to Toronto. One of our actors was living in Oshawa at the time, so not the easiest commute. The other one was studying at U of T, so luckily enough, he was like really close by.
Yeah.
And our actress, she happened to be in the city for who knows what reason.
Yeah.
But I looked at that as such a failure in the moment because I was like, how could I forget? Because I am such an organized freak, especially when I do films and stuff.
Really?
Yes. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, in that moment, I was like, how did we forget about this? Like, how did we, like, I was devastated.
Yeah.
And I had to leave to go to work. And so my editor and my audio guy were just like, they were like giving me updates. They're like, don't worry, Trish. It's perfect. We got the studio. Like, we got more behind the scenes shots. It actually turned out to be great because it was these little accidents that happen and it makes you learn. So you can't forget again.
Yeah. Just two things you just did there. It's funny. I had two thoughts when you were at the very end there. You were talking about failure, and it's neat how we are talking about an excitement.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
It's amazing. And you think about how they're no longer failures for us.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I look at that and I think, what a learning lesson that was.
Yeah.
And this actually kind of, something that you said earlier was, you learn, I think that the thing about failures is you learn them so early. You know, it is the way that you're taught. No, but it's the way that you're taught. So for me, my mom always said to me, well, you'll never do that twice. That was one of my mom's like go-to sayings. Mm-hmm. That, and you can't always get what you want, but you won't ever make that mistake twice. Mm-hmm. And it was something that I grew up being like, wow, you're so right. It's almost like we are given the opportunity to make the mistake once, mm-hmm. and then we will never make it again. And if we do, it's kind of like a shame on us.
Yeah, I've done. I agree with you completely. I wonder. Sometimes I've gone back to visit things, and I'll recognize where I may have made an error before, though, and I never even knew it yet. Like I just learned it as I go. Mm-hmm. So you probably won't make it twice, but you don't even realize you're making the error until you recognize it.
It's true.
So oddly enough, my second thing I was going to say was about how, with what we call our process or our mm-hmm. Or perfection, whatever that may be, writing a paper, I think of like waxing a car or polishing a mirror. I have no idea. You're never going to get it perfect. There's absolutely no such thing. And the neat thing is, if you allow imperfection, that's when people really like stuff. Like if you actually, and if you know that something is imperfect, you stop striving for perfection to the point that you actually can get it done. You enjoy it more, knowing that there's absolutely no way that it's going to be perfect. Obviously, we try to achieve things in this world, and we try to do the best job that we can. But the story that has, even like the Mona Lisa, it's probably got a gazillion imperfections, but that's why people love it.
Or it did have a gazillion imperfections. Like, who knows? That probably was not, his first attempt.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Usually people hate their stuff that everybody else loves.
Exactly, and that's usually the case.
Yeah.
So, I was going to ask you this question, but you kind of already answered it. But it was, have you ever done something that you thought could equally fail or succeed?
Equally fail? Oh yeah, for sure. I do it all the time whenever I go to do a public speaking.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can get up in front of public speaking. I've done this on multiple occasions where you could bomb.
Oh, big time. Oh,
and it would be the worst thing ever. You could also succeed and have it be the greatest thing ever. When I say the difference, often I get off and I go, oh, I forgot to say this. Oh, I could have done that. What was my tone like? What was my energy like? What was this? And everyone's like, comes up and they go, that was really good. You've actually really improved since like I saw you like last year, the year before that. You've done so much better. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just beginning.
Yeah, right? You're just like, this is just a stepping stone.
Sure. But I feel like failure, success, same time. Success, I got up and did it. Failure, sometimes I feel like I left something off the table, so to speak.
Yeah. And I just want to, for all of our listeners, I hope that you just take a moment to ask yourself that same question, because if I'm being completely honest, we make that decision or those things happen to us every single day. Every single day we get up and we do something that could fail or succeed. Yeah. Think about it. You get up from bed. Who knows if you're going to land on your feet or slip right out because your leg fell asleep,
Sure.
You could fail. Yeah. Brushing your teeth, you forgot to plug in your electric toothbrush and it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
It could fail or succeed. You tried to make a hard-boiled egg last night and you go to open it up this morning and it's runny. Every single day we do things that could fail or succeed.
Some stuff out of our control.
Exactly. So
if we have no control of it, is it technically our failure?
Maybe not, but I don't know who else to blame for it. So
Like if the light bulbs go out in your house because they burnt out, it's not failure.
guess
Is what
not.
it is.
It's very true.
So I mean, like I guess we would have to make sure that if we do take onus of or ownership of failure, it better be stuff that's within our control. If
That's
it's not
true.
in our control, it's not our failure
It's someone else's.
or nothing. Just
It's
something.
nothing's failure. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Something to ponder.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, so that's the biggest thing that I want everyone to realize who's listening and watching is that every single day we do things that we could fail at, and we do things every single day that we can succeed at. So the first step to changing the way you look at failures is just to realize that failures are literally all around you. There is nothing you can do about some of the things that happen. And
They're the
there's
hidden
something
success, though, aren't they?
exactly like it's like the little victories. I always say this. It's like this. It's the small victories. When you do remember, there you get the hard-boiled egg, and it actually is a hard-boiled egg and not a runny mess. It's like it's the little victories.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone who can't make a hard-boiled egg. So when she can, I celebrate big.
Sure.
So that's the kind of the first thing that I always want to say off the bat. We fail and succeed every single day.
Yeah.
So, stop reading those inspirational quotes to help you through a day. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
No matter what we do, I wonder in the end of the day if we count our failures and our successes, they're probably almost equal. I'd like to think they're ebbs and flows where we're succeeding at the same time that we're failing, but without one, you don't get the other.
It's true.
I think it's impossible to have successes without failures, and it's impossible to have failures without successes. So love them just as much.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Well, I mean, progress can't be made without taking a few risks.
Sure not.
So we have to try.
Agreed.
So to move on, I kind of want to ask you, how do you view your failures?
I think we just answered it there-ish.
Okay.
Honest to God, full-blown successes. I fail.
Yeah.
Turns into success.
Yeah.
I look at my daughter Maeve, and I try to stand back at a distance, like 3 to 4 feet, when she's doing something courageous. And I'm not going to let her fall off the stairs. I'm not going to let her get hit by a car.
Yeah.
She knows probably that I'm somewhat nearby, but I don't get so close that she knows that I'm going to do everything for her.
Yeah.
I let her fail constantly, because every single time that she does something, she's learning a newer and different way to do it.
It's
It's
true.
not necessarily the best way. She's just learning a newer and different way.
Yeah. It's like trial and error.
Sure. I try to do the same thing for myself. I give ourselves that opportunity to fail. I don't do it without judgment or criticism, because you're not doing it because you're, like, so to speak, dumb.
Yeah.
Or you don't know what you're doing, or you're not very smart. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's literally just the fact that we give ourselves the opportunity to fail, because it's the only way to give ourselves the opportunity to succeed.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I always look at my failures, like I said, as like a learning curve in a way. I mean, you could put yourself into any job, just picture it this way, and you will obviously make mistakes if you've never done that job before. And it's just a practice of learning and then not repeating the same thing you've done before.
Do you do it with judgment?
I do and I don't. I mean, sometimes I don't like judging myself, because that's something that I find that often makes me not look at failures as successes, because I'll judge myself a little bit, and I don't think we should put too much judgment on ourselves, because like I said, we do it every single day. So when I look at it as a learning thing, I look at it literally as, okay, I learned what did not work, or what I did not like, or something of that sort, and I know I will never do that again.
Yeah.
Like, I tried eggplant for the first time. Did I like it? No. Was it a fail in my books? A little bit, because I should have known I didn't like it, but I tried and I didn't succeed. It wasn't something I liked, so I won't do it again.
Yeah.
It's just a learning curve.
I wonder if sometimes, just so that we can have, we're different a little bit in some in that aspect. In regards to like learning curves for I guess failures versus successes, I don't like to put a judgment on it at all. It's really, I find that can be a detriment, because then all of a sudden we associate it with being bad to make a failure.
Exactly.
And I don't want to make failures be bad.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
So it's almost like I think that failures are good.
Failures are great.
And successes are good, but if they're both good, then maybe go with no judgment, not even give it a good or a bad. Just say they are what they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very true. So the other things that I feel like for anyone at home, if, learning or with judgment or however does not work for you, a couple other ways to start thinking about failures as redirection.
Yeah.
You go one
Oh,
way
yeah.
and you go, didn't work, go
Good,
the next.
Good word.
Right? Another one is it's not fatal.
Yeah.
Unless you jump out of a plane with no one strapped to your back for the first time, it probably is not fatal. So if you forget that, if you forgot, or say you're a child learning to tie your shoe for the first time and you don't do it,
Yeah.
it's not fatal. You can ask for
Yeah.
help or you can try
Probably
again.
almost every single thing is not fatal.
Exactly. Again, don't jump out of a plane without someone on your back
No.
and a parachute.
I don't.
And don't do it for the first time.
But I mean, if they landed and lived, damn, would they have been able to teach somebody something?
Oh, I hope so. But then the other one is it's kind of like the universe giving you feedback. And I mean, we've talked about this in the last couple episodes, how much we love feedback. So start looking at your failures as a form of feedback.
Nicely done, Trish.
Thank you. I like tying everything together,
Yes.
But yeah, no, seriously, it's kind of like the universe slapping you in the face and going, hey, no, don't do that again.
We should do a little icon in our social media that has like failure crossed out with an X and then put feedback beside it.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Yes, very good. Something else from my to-do list this week.
Yes.
But yeah, and then I just kind of wanted to ask, do you, I don't think you do, but failure as defeat. Do you ever find defeat in failure?
I think failure can be defeating.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel defeat? Yeah, you bet your ass you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's times in life when we just don't have enough energy to really get ourselves back up on that horse.
Yeah.
Will we get back up on the horse eventually? Yeah. I'd like to think we all do in whatever shape, form. It is what it is. I think we all do. It can take a long time for people to build up the courage again, but defeating, if you find like you go to make a mistake, and if you're on a pattern, and we've all done this, we're on a pattern of making failures. It's really hard to realize that there's success in those failures when you're incurring them.
Yeah.
If we're constantly the subject of the failure, you can kind of get into your own head where it's like the next mistake you stop believing in yourself.
Yeah.
That I think is the true definition of defeat. But you have to make sure that you don't go too far in that and you start to embrace the failures. If you embrace them, you start looking at them as feedback, as you said. And before you know it, you don't make them as much. Mm-hmm. So it will end.
Yeah.
And then that would be a really cool way to realize that failures are temporary.
Yeah.
As you said, not fatal. They're just temporary.
Exactly.
So are successes. All just temporary.
And that's such a good point to make. Successes are temporary because you can't just do it once and be like, we're done.
Got it.
We're good. Like clean up, You have to, if something is successful, you need to be able to repeat the pattern. You need to be able to, or at least modify.
Sure.
Like, it's just like if you look at Apple, they came out with one of the first iPhones and it was revolutionary, but they didn't stop there. They're like, you know what? We're now on like freaking iPhone X or 11 or whatever. It's like if they had stopped at 3 because they faced a success, we would not be where we are today with the iPhone 11.
100%.
So that's the thing about even successes is that successes are small. Failures are big in the sense that they lead you to find a success, but successes, you still need to keep trying. You still need to keep going.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are successes solutions?
In a way, I think they are. I do think sometimes they are. Because not all the time you're like a success could be just like I said, one step. So if you think big picture or something.
Is it a small problem? You solved a problem. Is that a success?
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at them in a way.
And problems are changing.
Problems are changing. They're
adapting.
not
going anywhere.
Nope. So
like Apple, you just use that example. They're going to continue to have, the world's going to continue to have problems.
Yeah.
And as long as we have problems, there's a company out there that's looking to create solutions.
Exactly.
We look at that as successes. I'd be curious if there was a problem, if there was something out there that was not a problem, didn't need a solution, but was still considered a success.
Interesting.
We have to think about that.
We'll have to think about that one. We've like
If
asked
anybody has an answer to
questions.
that one, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, again, back to the failure as defeating. I agree. Like, I think failure can be defeating and it can really take a jab at your confidence specifically. But I don't think it is something like, I don't think failure is a sign of defeat. By failing, you haven't given up. By failing, you haven't, given in, I guess, for a better term of words. But there was one quote that I really liked, and I know I said don't be reading a ton of quotes and feel inspired for a day, but this one really did, I think, hit the head right on the nail. But it was by Ralph Heath, and he said, one of the biggest secrets to success is operating inside your strength zone, but outside of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that quote because
yeah.
it's like, you have to, you are successful inside what you're strong at, but you have to be doing it outside your comfort zone. And by being outside your comfort zone, you're allowing yourself to fail. You're allowing yourself to be vulnerable to changes,
Yeah.
If you look at like a software update, it's like, okay, what have they done? What do I need to learn?
Sure.
And then you try and you fail.
Yep.
And then you learn again, or you try again. It's like, yes, I understand how to use Apple, for example. Shout out to a lot of Apple today.
Sure.
But they've changed something, and now I have to learn that. And that's going to operate as a failure, right? Because you're going to fail, and sometimes you're going to succeed sometimes.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I funny how my brain goes to analogies almost like that kind of. I look at it almost like I have a shoulder problem right now, a bit of pain in my shoulder, and it's often because certain muscles are strong.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you don't strengthen outside your comfort zone, maybe doing different workouts, different things, you don't realize that there are things in this world that you do have weaknesses in.
Yeah.
And almost always the weaknesses are the stuff that's outside your comfort zone. So you have to be willing to adapt and change.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of like a muscle thing, but if we look at that in regards to like relationships, we continue to do the exact same thing and we think we're really strong at it, but then all of a sudden something comes along and clicks us from the right. We didn't expect it, and it breaks people because
So
they're not
true.
outside their comfort zone. So it's almost
Absolutely.
like you got to expose yourself to all the elements to make sure that you're strong and well-rounded, right?
Yeah. Oh, there were so many things you said there that I wanted to, but it's true, especially with the gym analogy. It's like, you think about all the guys out there with skinny legs but huge tops, and
Sure.
it's just like, I forgot leg day. It's like,
And
no.
then they blow their knees out.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you need to do leg day.
Yeah.
I'm like, the bottom doesn't match the top.
Yes.
Like, so
And work.
disproportionate.
You need to do different things. We can't just do the exact same thing every day. Otherwise, we only are good at one thing.
Yeah, and what good is that going to do us? Absolutely nothing.
No, not well-rounded.
No.
You better be the scientist of scientists, and then maybe it's okay. But at the same time, those guys need a lot of help in everything else in life because they only do one thing. I mean, maybe there's certain times in life when it's okay, but at the same time, they could get blindsided by something, no question.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up here is how to perfect your failures. So again, this goes back to, changing the way you look at it, but as well as how can you turn your failures into successes, or how can you, I guess, make your failures better? I mean, seriously, I mean perfect your failures. That's what I mean.
Okay.
So the first one I have is write it down. So look at where you can make improvements in the entire train of what you just did.
Okay.
I know for me, I'm a visual person myself, so I like writing down every single step of what I did, and then I look to see where there needs to be improvements. This works too, especially if you are working with a team or something like that, and then you can see like, hey, I think that would be better if we moved it here. It'd be faster if we do it there. Doing stuff like that really starts to help you visualize and mentalize what needs to be done.
Yeah. I don't know if I write things. I definitely write a lot of things down.
Well, either type it out or write it out, something like that.
I think the one thing that I would tell anybody that's listening and what I utilize myself is observation. Just make sure that when you're actually doing something, be super mindful that when you're doing it, and observe.
Yeah.
You'll notice very quickly, and I come back to like waxing a car or polishing a car, you'll see if you're not doing a great job. Just be really observant of it, and then realize how you can do it better in the moment.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than having failure, or nothing worse than having failures and realizing them after.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you have failures at the same time that you're having your successes, it's amazing because then you learn as you go.
Yeah.
So I'd say just be really mindful and observant while you move along in life. It's a hell of a lot more enjoyable.
It's true. Well, that's great. That's another great addition, just being observant.
Yeah.
The next one I have is brainstorm. So, like I just said, if you're working with a group, if you have a problem, and again, we talked about this in our transparency.
I'll call it.
so under the radar.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
If you have a problem, go ahead.
I'll call it.
No, I'll solve it.
I'll solve it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
damn it. Anyway, but yeah, brainstorm with your group, because the brainstorm will be able to, again, like I said in the transparency one, you're celebrating your successes and your failures, and you're coming together and you can collaborate.
Yeah. Looking at it in a different eye is key.
Yeah.
We get stuck.
Oh, we
constantly
get stuck in our own heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think that we're the only, it's crazy how like we'll be sitting there struggling with something and someone else come along and go, hey, can I help you with that? And you're like, no, like I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
It's just not working.
Yeah.
And the person's like, can I just, you have to be open to it then.
Yeah.
You got to be open to other people. So brainstorming, it's great. But I think that the skill is to be open to other people's ideas.
Yeah. That's very
That's
true.
how like you get mountains. Like you get escalating ideas. Even like you and I having this conversation. We could be sitting here having a podcast alone. And it's only one person's thoughts.
Yeah.
And then there's the other person's thoughts, but I think that artists together, you get even more.
Yeah, you get the bigger picture.
You get a multiply.
Or you get at least a bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely. So brainstorm with your group and just talk to people. See
Couldn't
if they
agree
have a different, like, I mean, I did the same thing this summer. Like, one of our coworkers, Jamie, I would ask her for help on stuff because I knew how to do it one way, but it would take me a lot longer. So I'd be like,
Sure.
Jamie, do you know how to do this? And she'd be like, yeah, man. And she'd come over and do it real quick. And I'd
Yep.
be like, brilliant.
Yes.
I'm so glad that I just asked for someone's a different opinion.
How else do you learn?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other one I have is, I mean, kind of what we've talked about too, is just learn from them. And I think that goes into your observing quality too. It's just observe from them, learn from them, understand them, and try to figure out, what went wrong, where did it go wrong, how can I modify that so I don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, it's funny how like we associate the word wrong with negativity, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that if people start to enjoy their failures
as much as we do,
sure, yeah, exactly. I think that they'll realize that it's easy. Like life is not as challenging if we realize that failures are kind of fun. They might hurt for a moment, but you're only learning from it.
It's true.
You can't get better at something until you're worse at it. It's just a reality. You don't just jump on your bike and immediately be able to go straight and fast and win races and go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
You're going to have to do a lot of failure before you get there.
Oh, big time.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So enjoy the process.
Absolutely. And that actually kind of leads into my last one, which is don't regret a thing.
Ah, yeah.
Because
Perfect.
here's the thing. Regret is something that we hold on to so tightly. Regret is like a little monster that just eats us up inside because it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. But here's the thing. You have done that now. And if it sucked, if it hurt, if you didn't like it, you're not going to do it again. So stop regretting the decisions that you made, because unless, like, again, there's some regrets that you should make. Like if you kill somebody, you should regret that. But if you went skydiving and you didn't like the experience, are you ever going to do it again? No, but you shouldn't regret doing it in that moment, because in that moment you did something that you did something amazing, or you did something crazy, or you did something that's adventurous. So living with regret is just, it's added weight to your conscience that you don't need anymore.
It's bad energy.
It's terrible energy.
Yeah. I find there's, when you finish something up and you think, could I have done that differently?
Yeah.
If you could have, you would have.
It's true. It's so true. Mm-hmm.
So you can learn from what you did.
Yeah.
And you could do it again next time. But the next time you go to do something, you're probably going to think about it after and go, could I have done that even differently?
Yeah.
It's an evil loop. So if you could have, you would have.
It's true.
Leave it there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to end it on. But I definitely don't want people to live with regret. Don't judge yourself for it.
Life's too damn short.
Life is so short. If it was meant to last or meant to work or whatever, it would be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, on that note, I think that's where we're going to stop the podcast today.
Okay.
This has been like such a fun episode. This has been.
We got to find that little. Was that? I can't remember what.
I can't remember what she said.
What song that was from?
Oh, it's Ice Ice Baby.
Yes.
Vanilla Ice. Ice
All right.
Baby.
On that note, we'll see you guys later. It's Josh Campbell and Trish Wiswick. As always.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye. Ice Baby. Too cold. Too cold.
I'll solve it. Check out the DJ and
DJ revolves it. Ice Baby.
Vanilla
Ice Baby.
That was a good one.
Stop. Collaborate and listen.
Oh,
Ice
you
is
got
back
it.
with a brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? No, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow.
Thank you very much for stopping by our channel. If you have any questions or if you're looking to buy or sell, go to our website and contact us today. Knowledge is power and creates experts in understanding. If you want power, hit thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel so you can get weekly videos from me, your knowledge.